So now we have seen these last 5 years, for many complex reasons, as I told you, like population growth, lack of policy, a devastating deforestation and replanting of eucalyptus. I have images of Sidamo. Sidamo is one of my favorite areas. People are wonderful, hardworking, very team-oriented. They all work in groups. It was beautiful, Sidamo. I mean, you go to the highlands where there's no coffee, but there is such an amazing nature.
Mm.
And the last 5 years, they have absolutely destroyed it. Because what has happened is a huge road has opened between Awasa all the way to Kenya, crossing Sidamo. So what happens is you have a lot of truck drivers going there, and truck drivers consume chat. Because chat helps you stay awake at night and give you a lot of energy to work. Okay? So what do the farmers do? Wow, I'm going to say chat to the drivers, and they do.
Right.
And then they have, to grow chat, you need sunshine. So they have devastated all the biodiverse forests, planted swathes of chat. Sidamo is slowly but surely like Harar.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop, It's Time to Become a Coffee Consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Heleanna from MPC Trading, Moplaco Trading in Ethiopia. Folks, I just want to start this episode by saying something. We have been contacted recently by a lot of people saying, what's the best way to support the podcast? I love the podcast. I think it's amazing. There are a couple of ways you can support the podcast. First of all, if you can't support financially, you can share the podcast with people. The information specifically in this series needs to get out to everybody. We don't have conversations about brewing coffee and roasting coffee and things like that. We have really, really interesting conversations and important conversations. So if you're unable to help the podcast financially, please share the content. If you would like to contribute financially, there's 2 ways. First of all, you can be a paid subscriber on YouTube. It costs a couple of bucks. The other way that you can help is by being a part of our Patreon. And on our Patreon, it means you get access to the full series once it comes out, without ads and without sponsor messages. If you subscribe on YouTube, you get access to it early, but it has ads and sponsor messages. So please consider helping this podcast however you can, because conversations like the ones that we're having with Heleanna today, you're not going to hear them anywhere else. And this is us. First of all, we're documenting history. Second of all, I am honored beyond what I can explain to have the privilege of having this conversation with someone like Heleanna. I was telling her just before, I hang to have dinner with her because rarely do I meet somebody that can communicate such important information with such intelligence the way that Heleanna can. So Heleanna, once again, welcome. Thank you. And let's have a conversation about, in this episode, the future of coffee being under threat in Ethiopia. In the last episode, we talked about Harar. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about Ethiopia on a grander level, because the things that are happening with Khat or Chat, depending on how you say it, the things that are happening with Chat is not the only thing that's going on in Ethiopia. The things that are going on in Eucalyptus, you have an animated video that's out. We are going to include a link to it in this podcast, but help people understand the situation with Eucalyptus and what impact it's going to have on the future of coffee all over Ethiopia.
Okay, let's, for me, it's very important, and I always keep on saying to people, Ethiopia coffee is so unique in its beauty and biodiversity. I cannot stress that enough, And we are so lucky because the rest of the world does really mambo jumbo to create good quality coffee. And yet we do the exact opposite to destroy the quality we have by all the bad practices we apply. Still, the coffee tastes great. And so many people have come and they have seen our facilities and they are dumbstruck by how bad they are.
The birthplace of coffee. Remember, folks, Ethiopia is where coffee trees were born. This is where all the genetic biodiversity exists, right?
Yeah, so they come and they expect that we have some amazing secret for the coffee we produce. And then they come and they see these pathetic installations that we have, quite dirty, unorganized, not modernized, not stainless steel. Everything is wrong, to be honest, if you compare what we have and what we do, compared to what Brazil, Colombia does. And
Hawaii, Panama, all of them.
Yes. So they come and say, oh my God, how can you produce this amazing coffee? And this is the kick. We are not producing amazing coffee. We are receiving amazing coffee from the land without doing anything. And then we do everything wrong in addition to that because we are so accustomed that what we have is good. Okay? So, and we never stop to think why our quality was so good. So the typical answer in Ethiopia is that God gave us great quality. And of course, there's some element of truth there, that the land was blessed, really. Ethiopia, like many other African countries, has the altitude, the water, the climate, the biodiversity to be able to produce such a unique product. So did God give us all this? I mean, this is a very long discussion, which is irrelevant. But the fundamental part is that it is accidental. It is given to us by a miracle of nature. Now, because of this lack of philosophical thinking, understanding, exposure, education, we are not able to understand the complexities of the production of such an amazing product. Lee, every time I am an avid watcher of the National Geographic, okay? And I'm always amazed at how amazing nature is. And it's a result of random events. God instigated them or the DNA existed. I don't know.
I was a genetic scientist. I also used to be Catholic. So I struggle with this fight.
Both, yes? But the fact is that we have a random environment in Ethiopia which was so amazingly unique. You mentioned before Eucalyptus, a world-renowned coffee that is, when you taste it, it tastes like jasmine. And yet so many people say the last 6-7 years, we don't get that Eucalyptus anymore. And they fail to understand why we don't get it, okay? It's like, what has happened? So many things have happened. Again, nothing is so simple. One is the trees became old and unreplenished. And again, why? Because the farmer lacks the education and the support from whoever that is to be able to replenish and understand the importance of replenishing its trees. On the contrary, going back to what we said before, having so very few trees that he's afraid to cut some of them because he thinks, oh my God, if I cut some of them or half of them, next year my production will be halved, hence my income will be halved.
So he
doesn't
stops.
have the education or the farm or the patience to wait 5 years until the new trees give him production. Okay? So we enter in a very vicious circle of cash dependency today that prohibits the farmer of taking intelligent measures to ensure larger production later on. So we have aging trees, unreplenished because the farmer doesn't have the educative support nor the agricultural practices that will allow him to maintain his yield without losing money. Okay? Then we have a soil depleted because of chat and eucalyptus, and I will also explain why. Because as the population is growing rapidly in Ethiopia, I mean, if you look at the statistics, the population all around the world is dropping, scarily dropping, except India, Ethiopia, Nigeria. Maybe there are other countries, but I know those three. So imagine I'm here 17 years, and the population has grown in these 17 years by 34 million people.
Wow.
Because they give birth to about 2.5 million kids every year. I mean, these were statistics I had read somewhere from UN reports or the WHO a few years back. Are the numbers the same? Are the numbers decreasing or increasing? I will not guarantee that because I don't have the information in front of me. But the reality is the population growth is exerting a lot of pressure on the land, and then the needs of the farmers. And what are the needs of the farmers? Coal, heat, because they need to boil the water, even to drink coffee. They need to boil water in order to cook food. And they need to warm their huts, okay? And keep their environment as warm as possible because many of them live in mud huts in the middle of the jungle. So where do they get this fast-growing wood from? By planting eucalyptus trees. Because there does not exist the infrastructure to ensure electricity and warmth and all the things that he needs. Even if you give him electricity, to be honest, he's going to charge his mobile, maximum put the radio on, but he won't be able to put a stove.
Right, because they can't afford to pay the electricity.
Not necessarily not afford to, but the electricity that you give him, where is he going to put the stove? In a mud house?
Right.
The houses are like mud homes. So what happens is the need for coal and eucalyptus and heat has dramatically increased with this population increase. And there was a law in Ethiopia that the farmers were not allowed to cut endemic trees for coal. So what they started doing is, let's say, wait a moment, I cannot cut a tree to obtain heat, and I don't have any other form of warming myself. Whilst you, either government official or government or each Ethiopian or each foreigner, have all these things available, and then you come and preach me about how beautiful my nature is when I cannot even keep myself warm or feed myself. I mean, we need to understand also the discrepancy between us and them.
Right.
Okay? So they started planting eucalyptus trees to be able to have wood for free. So they don't have to buy it from somewhere else with the meager income that they get from coffee, which is the only other cash crop they have.
Wow. And they did this not understanding the ramifications of actually planting eucalyptus.
No. And again, even if they understand, because they do see the soil drying, they don't have the capacity to think long term.
They don't have the privilege of being able to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the right way. They don't have the privilege. And they don't have the philosophical thinking, the education, the support, the understanding, nor the long-term vision.
It's the poverty cycle.
To watch, it's a vicious circle. So the last 5 years, I have observed a rapid deforestation happening. So land reduction, increase of population, lack of actual support to the farmers. So what do the farmers do? I mean, we need to understand them. Like my farm, which is in Sheka, it is really the last biodiverse paradise in Ethiopia.
Wow.
And I remember the first time I went there and I was so adamant, we are not going to cut a tree and we don't have electricity in the farm. So we use solar panels and we don't have running hot water like we have in the cities, and the farm gets very cold at night. I was like, cut the damn tree and give me some coal.
Right.
I didn't say that. How can I say that after all the speeches I give left, right, and center? But that was my immediate reaction.
So you have some empathy for the perspective that they're coming from.
Absolutely.
Right.
It was so obvious to me at that point, like, where do I get as a person what I need? Which, forget about everything else. I need food and heat.
Yep.
So the saddest part for me, okay, I'm an avid lover of nature, but I have the privilege to have this love.
Right.
Okay? Because I want to enjoy the beauty of nature, but I don't depend on it on a day-to-day basis.
And you're not in survival mode, right? They are in survival mode.
Survival mode. It's like, we love going for safaris and we love seeing the animals, but the animal has to survive every day. So we romanticize things that seem so far away from us. So now we have seen these last 5 years, for many complex reasons, as I told you, like population growth, lack of policy, a devastating deforestation and replanting of eucalyptus. I have images of Sidamo. Sidamo is one of my favorite areas. People are wonderful, hardworking, very team-oriented. They all work in groups. It was beautiful, Sidamo. I mean, you go to the highlands where there's no coffee, but there is such an amazing nature. And the last 5 years, they have absolutely destroyed it. Because what has happened is a huge road has opened between Awasa all the way to Kenya, crossing Sidamo. So what happens is you have a lot of truck drivers going there, and truck drivers consume chat. Because chat helps you stay awake at night and give you a lot of energy to work. Okay? So what do the farmers do? Wow, I'm going to say chat to the drivers, and they do. Right. And then they have, to grow chat, you need sunshine. So they have devastated all the biodiverse forests, planted swathes of chat. Sidamo is slowly but surely like Harar. And as a Greek, I love conspiracy theories or drama. And people say, come on, Heleanna, there is still forest. Yet I see 10 trees. That's not a forest.
Yeah.
Where are the indigenous trees of Ethiopia that are really endemic to Ethiopia? Okay. I'm not talking about the acacia that you can see all over Africa. We have such amazing trees, such amazing biodiversity. Now, why do I insist on that? Because what does coffee or any plant eat? It eats nutrients. From where? From the soil. And how is the soil created? It's not Harry Potter with a magical wand that creates the soil. It is the forest canopy that creates this topsoil. Now we eliminate the forest canopy, we lose the soil. Hence, the coffee doesn't have the same nutrients as before. So other than lacking a rejuvenation of trees, we also have a depleted soil. So sad to watch, Lee, because Ethiopia is so fertile, so beautifully fertile, which allows these trees to create these very unique flavors, because the minerals in the soil that have been generated from the debris of the trees, the rainwater, the shades, the altitude, produce this amazing coffee. And now I have all these visitors that come to the washing station and they're like, wow, that is bad. That is so basic. And then you produce this amazing coffee, but we don't produce it. We were given it.
By the land.
So now what is happening? We lose the forest because of eucalyptus, because of chat, because the farmer needs money, because there's no policy and no control, no understanding of what these people really need. And then we are also losing coffee quality. And then, of course, it's very easy to say from any farmer or any exporter or any stakeholder, any government official, that this is due to climate change. Of course, the climate in the world will affect Ethiopia. But trust me, Ethiopia until now was not so affected by climate change because of its forests. So there is a young man that was working for TechnoServe that showed me some data of Ethiopia many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me, where at your farm? I said, in Sheka. He said, oh, amazing, Heleanna. It's still the last place that is not affected by climate change. Why? Because there is a forest.
Right.
Okay? So we say, we have the best coffee in the world. We had the best coffee in the world. Why we have this best coffee? Is it something we do or something we receive? So what do we need to secure that future? Are we doing anything concretely? Right now, Lee, I'm very sad to say that we are doing absolutely nothing. Because,
Go ahead.
Because coffee is used as a cash crop, not only by the farmers, but by our country.
The government.
It is an income generating product.
USD.
And in dollars, yes. So full stop, meaning nobody has been able to understand how important this coffee is for the story of Ethiopia, but not in a romantic way. It is the birthplace of coffee. So do we maximize its potential or do we destroy it? And right now, this lack of understanding leads us to destroy it. And then we say, oh, coffee quality is not good because of climate change. Coffee quality is not good because prices are not good, so the farmer doesn't want to produce high-quality coffee. Of course, there is a mix of truth in that. But the raw reality is that we only see coffee as a dollar-generating machine, as a cash crop. We don't see the complexity of the coffee that we have. Since we are not taking the right decisions. So if you work only for money, you are only looking for jobs that give you money. You are not looking for jobs that make you happy, content, balanced, and give you money.
You're also not planning for the future, right?
No.
And in the next episode, folks, we're going to talk about what impact all of this has on the future of Arabica in Ethiopia. And we want to talk about that compared to other origins and as well as other varieties. So join us for the next episode where we take all the stuff that we've spoken about in the first two episodes and we're going to start talking about this, like the legitimate seriousness of it. We've touched on the seriousness of it, but I really want us to deep dive into what this really means for, like what does eucalyptus really do to the coffee that's available? Join us in the next episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.